What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I'm going to keep it a buck. We have not posted in a while. We had to go on a hiatus, but I knew that I had to come back for this one. We got Mr. Matt Gotel, defensive tackle for the Seattle Seahawks. Matt, how's it going?
Going good, man. Thanks for having me.
So we had you on last year when you got picked up as a UDFA. I believe it was back in March or April. And a lot of things have happened since then. You know, you go to camp last year, you go in for a few preseason games, and then I believe it's after the second preseason game you get cut, you get released.
Yeah.
Kind of what how was that? How did that news hit you in the when it first came? Because we see it in Hard Knocks sometimes where the players get called in and it's like, hey man, sorry we had to let you go. Kind of how was that taken and how did that go down?
Yeah, that one definitely hurt because, I'm from Seattle. So when I got cut the first time, it was like a stab in the heart.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, you just got to keep playing football. So I had to get over that pretty quick and just get back to training.
Mm. Yeah, so something that I really thought about recently when we were kind of leading into this podcast is Pete a lot talks about keeping doors open with players, never, saying this is the end when letting go of a player, always keeping that door open to bring players back. It's what brought Bobby Wagner back this year. Um was Now when you got cut, was there any kind of discussions with Pete, and if so, were there kind of any talks of, hey, I hope to maybe have you back in the future if you're ever available?
Yeah, no doubt. When I met with Coach Carroll, he talked about the practice squad my rookie year, and just told me to stay in shape and whatnot. And no, that gave me hope just to keep working out and whatnot. But at the end of the day, he didn't end up bringing me back, but just gave me the hope to keep playing, and that he'd be around the corner to give me a call.
Yeah, that I feel like that kind of culture is kind of understated as it goes from like a fan's point of view to say, oh, that's a nice thing, but I mean, like as a player, I imagine that has to hit a certain way. So we're gonna kind of jump forward. We're gonna go back at kind of post cut, but real quick, now that you're back with Seattle, when you first get the call from the Seahawks saying, "Hey, we want to bring you in for a workout. We'd like to, maybe see if you want to come back to the team." Kind of what were your first thoughts on that, and how did you approach that coming back?
Okay, yeah, I had a whole new mindset really because before I got called back to come to Seattle, I was with the Falcons, right? And I had a little short stint with them, and then so I was on a flight back to Washington, from. So, and then I ended up getting a phone call saying, "Hey, we want you for a workout," and then it was clicking like, "Hey, man, I'm not going back home after this, like I'm gonna make this for real this time." So after my workout, they told me I looked great, told me I looked better than I did my rookie year, so that was a compliment to me.
Hmm.
And honestly, I just stayed by the phone because I knew I was going to get that call.
Yeah, so you kind of talk about going to Atlanta, but the really thing that was interesting with me is you went and played in the XFL for San Antonio for a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot of discourse. Obviously, the NFL is kind of on a different plane, but there's a lot of discourse saying, "Oh, should there be another league that players that don't get into the NFL 1 year can go and play, stay in shape, get that experience?" Kind of, what do you have to say about the XFL and what was that experience like?
Man, the XFL for me was a straight up blessing. I had the blessing to have Heinz Ward as my head coach, and man, he poured into his players and wanted to get us really back to the big stage here in the NFL. It was about getting film, it was about building friendships and family. And honestly, I did both those things. I got the film I needed. I packed stats, and I ended up getting back in the league. It was the XFL is so underrated. A lot of guys look down on it because it's not the NFL,
Yeah.
but you go there, you get a good amount of money to get to play the game you love. Like not many guys get to say they get paid to do what they do. So it's a blessing for the guys who can see it.
Yeah. Now, when you were kind of coming out of the XFL, or when you first went to the XFL, actually, did you see that more as an opportunity to perhaps get back in the NFL, or did you see this as perhaps a whole new career path where maybe that could be a long-term option for you if it didn't work out? How'd you kind of view signing into the XFL?
I viewed the XFL as the JUCO route. I went JUCO, so you
Yeah.
go JUCO to get to university. That was my mindset. I didn't plan to stay in the XFL. I wanted to go there for however long it takes, but I knew that since my first preseason game ever, that I could play in the league. So after I went to the XFL and got my film, I was like, like, thanks for this, but I'm going back, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a I me personally, I believe that the NFL should partner with the XFL or something like that to add some development. Add there are a lot of really good players that maybe they don't have enough tape, maybe they don't come into camp, maybe they get injured in camp and they never get that shot. So I feel like the
Hmm.
XFL is something that is really valuable.
No
Now
doubt.
you kind of head to Atlanta after that, and it was a short stint. But was there anything that anybody that you met, anything that you learned there that maybe you took to Seattle going back?
I met Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell, and for the short time I was there, man, they really took me under their wing just to coach me up and get me better. And really, my playing style didn't change much, but my mindset changed a little bit, just towards getting to the ball, towards straining, stuff like that.
So you talk about come back to Seattle. Now that we're kind of back to the present day, when you kind of left Atlanta, you talk about getting the call back. Was Atlanta? I mean, was Seattle kind of a place that you circled after Atlanta? Seattle obviously had to let go of Al Woods this offseason. They had to let go of Puna Ford this offseason. Was that kind of a place where you're looking, you're thinking maybe I could get a shot here?
Yeah, that was the mindset from the get go. After I saw they released a bunch of their vets, I was like, well, this is prime time for me to come in here and make a name for myself. Unfortunately, I came in to camp, within like 2 weeks after camp started, but I made some noise.
Yeah. Now, I was really excited when you signed back because I interviewed a few other guys and they all ended up they maybe made the team for a year, but then they got cut. And when you signed back, I was very happy to have someone back on the squad that I interviewed and see you get back and get another opportunity. You get back to Seattle. There are a few new faces, obviously, and I feel like the vibe around the Seahawks changed a lot from your rookie year. When you came in as a rookie, we had just traded Russell Wilson. The team, a lot of people were down the Seahawks, and now the Seahawks are seen as a uh, definitive playoff contender in the NFC. Kind of how do you have you felt a culture change or a mood change in that building from last year? Are players maybe thinking more highly of the squad, or is it all kind of the same regardless?
What a lot of people don't know is that the culture in this building, although from the outside looking in, it can feel like it changes, but it never changes. The
Hmm.
energy in this building is always positive. It's always Super Bowl mindset, so that never changed.
When you come back to the team, Bobby Wagner is captaining that defense now. What kind of interactions have you had with him? He's a Seattle legend. He's a football legend, frankly. What kind of interactions have you had with him, and kind of how does he change the landscape of a defense?
Man, he's just a natural born leader, really, man. Get to watch him every day at practice, just calling the shots. You see him calling out stuff the offense sees. It's almost insane, man. It's like, man, how much film do you got to watch, and how much do you got to study to get to that level? He's the golden standard.
Yeah. So you come into Seattle. I believe you may I don't I correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you missed the first preseason game and then you played in the last two. And I
Yeah,
feel like especially in Green Bay, um, you really played very well. And I saw a lot of Seahawks analysts saying, "Hey, Matt Gotel is playing a hell of a game right now." Kind of what was your mindset going into that last game? Because obviously now teams can hold 90 players till the end of preseason to the end of the preseason. So you have all three games to show out. You missed the first one. You play really well in the third one. Was your mindset kind of, hey, well, if I don't make the team, I can go out and put something else on film? Or
yeah.
was it kind of like, I'm going to make this squad. I'm going to put everything I got into it?
It was honestly both of those things because at the end of the day, the harder I go, the better chance I have to make this squad, and also the better film I have out there, right? So my mindset was, yes, I want to be here in Seattle, but I also want to have great film. So just in case Seattle doesn't have a spot for me, someone else does.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting world to see kind of those players that are on the fringe and coming in battling. Now you've been only been there for a few weeks now, but kind of there's been a lot of doubt, especially on the outside, about the Seahawks run defense. It was kind of towards the bottom of the league last year in yards allowed. What have you seen from this room? A lot of young guys. coming in. A lot of guys expected to take a big step. What have you seen in this room, and what do you have to say to people on the outside that might be doubting this defense?
Man, these guys are coming, man. I'll let you know right now. You got a lot of young blood, and then you got a lot of good vets in the room. Got Jaron Reed, Draymond, Mario. These are guys who are going to come in, not only stop the run, but rush the passer as well. It's gonna be a movie to watch this year. Trust me, it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah. So now that you're on the practice squad, um, kind of how do you battle practice every week? Because now it's sort of less of a I'm battling for a roster spot type of thing, and more so like I'm here and now I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. How does your mindset change going from preseason week 3 to now being on the practice squad? What is the mindset? How are you fighting for different things?
For me, I treat it as every day as game day. I practice for me. I mean, as a practice squad guy, I'm going against the ones every day in practice now, and that's doing nothing but getting my game better. So every day for practice, I'm like, all right, it's game day for me, and that gets me hyped. I get to put on film against our starting line. So it's doing nothing but getting me better and putting my film out there to keep me here longer.
Yeah. This now the Seahawks got a lot of young blood in that locker room, including you. But kind of talking about, I believe the stat was 60% of the team is first or second year guys, and that's crazy when you really think about it. How are you kind of how is the energy like that? Is it like a college locker room where it's obviously a lot of young inexperience, or is it kind of something where it's like we're all in the NFL now, we've matured, let's get out there?
Yeah, that's the standard right there. To be a professional, that's what it is. You're not going to see a lot of guys in the locker room like acting out of character or whatnot. It's really guys here know how to be pros. They show up on time. They do what they're supposed to do. They take care of the bodies. It's not out of control over here.
Yeah, so coming up on week 1, obviously a lot of hype around this team. A lot of people are expecting this to maybe be the best Seahawks team in a while. Um, kind of what is the mindset like in just that whole locker room coming in week 1? Obviously, you got the team captains were announced yesterday. You got Gino as a new team captain. You got Bobby coming back. What is the vibe like? What are the leaders telling you in there?
One game at a time. Dominate each play, each second of every game. And a Super Bowl mindset once again. Just win every game one at a time.
Yeah, not preseason, regular season week 1. You're at home taking on the LA Rams, classic division rival. There's been some bad blood between these teams in recent history, but obviously when you look to the other side, there's one guy that really sticks out. His name is Aaron Donald. Everybody knows about Aaron Donald. How do you kind of take influence from players that are not in Seattle? Do you study his film and see what he does to get you better?
Okay, so a guy like Aaron Donald, I cannot watch because if I try to do what he does, it won't work out for me. We got two different playing styles, but I do take in influence from a lot of guys in the league, like a Calais Campbell, like more of like a Via Vea. Like those are guys who my play style is like. But I can't do what AD does.
Yeah. So, Matt, thank you very much for joining us. It was a blast. I find your story very interesting. You took the XFL route, you bounced around to Atlanta, you come back, and now you're on the squad. I feel like this is very unique. You're in a place right now where I feel like you're going to have a chance to be on this team for a while with our room and how young you are and where you're going. So I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Appreciate you, man. Great talking to you.
Hey, I'll see you. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. We will see you next time. Peace out.